for British Vogue, I wrote, "This piece is having a boyfriend embarrassing now." I know people have reading the headline, they're like, "Nah, nah, nah." But listen, for this piece, I interviewed a bunch of women. I spoke to them about why they hide their partners on social media, or they like post very inconspicuously about them. You know, some people said it was about privacy and this sort of unique, special privacy that you only afford your romantic partner. A lot of people spoke about the evil eye and this idea that, oh, if I post my partner, then people who are jealous of me will somehow, through their terrible vibes, ruin my relationship. Some people said that they felt as if they were scared to post because what happens when someone comes to them as a woman, or what happens when they break up and they have to, you know, delete all the posts. And there's this whole feeling of like shame of having tried and failed to find love. And then there was a really interesting point that came across both people in relationships and single people. And this idea that like being in a relationship with a man and showcasing it to the world in and of itself was an embarrassing thing to do. And that's what I really wanted to get into. There was this idea of there not being a solidarity with other women. There was this idea of like a relationship just by default being something that rendered you quite uncool. I spoke about this podcast I came across where they were talking about, is it lame to have a boyfriend? And they say, you know, when I meet a girl and she has a boyfriend, I automatically just kind of put her in a box or in a category, and I just don't feel as inspired or engaged by her. And then when someone doesn't, I feel like they have so much life and prospect, and they are just entertaining and fun, and I kind of feel empowered by their individualism. But interestingly, the girls talking about this on the podcast, agreeing with this idea that like girls without boyfriends are cool, are also in relationships themselves. And so I was thinking so much about how it is very uncool to be a boyfriend girl. It is very uncool to be a my man person. And I spoke to both just people who are on social, but also content creators and influencers about what happens when they post their partners, right? A lot of them lose a lot of followers, especially if they were already single. And this idea that now you are someone's girlfriend and you're posting about this is something that people automatically disengage from.
That's pretty crazy to think that people are so vain and that the world is so against men, because my translation of this is that women just hate men in general. And this is British Vogue. And this is going viral here inside of the United States of America. And women hate men so much that women hate women that are in a relationship with men. And so now it's becoming embarrassing for a woman to say that she has a boyfriend or to post that she has a boyfriend, especially if you're an influencer or a content creator. It becomes an attack, right? Me personally, I think that people should just keep their relationship offline. I've had to learn from that myself. But with regard to women, the level of hate that they have towards each other is incredible.
Do it too. If I follow someone because they, I don't know, post their outfits and all of a sudden it's their boyfriend every day, I'm just like mute. I can't, I came here for a reason. But this is happening like across the board. And like just culturally, I think a lot of like the days of a man being a prize has really changed. It's really, really, really changed. And obviously this has come from like just the empowerment of single women in general, but also just how the trajectory of men and women are going in completely opposite directions. And now we're having to look at heterosexuality with the political lens that we've looked at other sexualities. And we really have to evaluate, if we are a part of this thing, what does it mean? And so it's a really interesting piece. I think people should go and read it and should go and check it out. And I've also found the backlash to it. You know, I think a lot of women in relationships will say, well, you know, I hate all men apart from my man. He is a feminist and he is a this and he is a that, and I shouldn't feel embarrassed and blah blah blah. But the thing is, I think we have to be honest with ourselves. If people want to scream like men are trash, I hate all men, men are trash, I hate all men, and then you shack up with a man and you're like, but not my man though, and someone says that's embarrassing, this is the culture that we've created and we follow.
This is insane, bro. I think that this is crazy. This is insane. And of course, she's the one that actually wrote the article. And I don't see anything wrong with what she says, because she's just a journalist or an opinionated, person that wrote an article or whatever, so on and so forth. So she's just documenting and then posing a question. But I think that it's embarrassing that women feel as though they have to validate their perspective to other women. And this is why the women that are the happiest hang out with other women that are in relationships. Women that are the happiest hang out with other women that are in relationships, and they don't get caught up in the foolishness. They are 100% on point, on top of things, and they don't feel as though they have to validate themselves and the person that they love the most, their best friend, or the person that they spend the majority of their time with, which I think that people should, do whatever is best for them, is usually the person that they're in a relationship with, or their best friends or other people of similar interests and similar backgrounds. But we are so caught up in social media that we feel as though we need to validate ourselves in the mindset of other people. We're going to explore this tonight on After Hours.
Right? And so I think a lot of people want to have their pie and eat it too. But there's nothing wrong with that. But I just think as we become a lot more critical of heterosexuality, I just think you can't sit comfortably in that anymore, which I personally think is a good thing, because it means that we are like deepening heterosexuality. We're thinking so much more critically about what it is we're engaging in, and we're being conscious about our choices, which I think is important. But yeah, go and read the piece. Sorry to drone on and on and on and on and on and on and on. Shout out to everyone that made it to the end of this video.
Vogue just posted an article saying having a boyfriend is embarrassing. I think for men, this is a wake-up call. To the smart, independent woman, good salary, nice place, we provide no benefit. We are no longer the priority. In fact, we're probably a burden to them. We need to realize having a girlfriend is a privilege, and our duty is to raise them up and make them the most successful version of themselves. That might mean doing the laundry and picking up the dishes.
Never.
It might mean working harder to support them so they can go back to school. It might mean just focusing on ourselves more to be the best versions of ourselves, to inspire them to want to do the same. I think a healthy relationship involves both people raising each other up to be the best versions of themselves.
Never have this type of mentality ever. Never, ever simp out. Never let women bully you into thinking that you are less than you really are. If you the prize, continue to be that. As a matter of fact, I'm of the impression that the best relationships is when the woman actually likes the man more, because you can't worship women. You have to focus on your purpose. And then the woman ultimately is the thing that focuses on you, which doesn't mean that she shouldn't focus also on herself, but she has to like you more than you like her. And so for y'all to then feel as though, and this is why I also hold snow hairs, white men, accountable, because they are the ones that lost their households first. They're so pussy whipped. They so focused on trying to validate their existence and the mindset of women that they're willing to throw themselves under the bus. They're willing to throw themselves under the bus in order to validate the feelings of a woman.
Doing whatever they can to support that person to be able to do that. Right now, I don't think men are doing that. I think men don't really provide a benefit. We need to figure out how to provide that benefit so we are no longer embarrassing.
I'm at home and I just got done reading Is Having a Boyfriend Embarrassing? And as a single woman living alone in her 30s, I have thoughts. First of all, I felt like for a long time when I would be in social settings and I would say like, yeah, I'm 33 and I'm single, I would always get these like sad puppy eyes, like poor her, she doesn't have a boyfriend. So I'm so excited that society is finally switching the narrative. And the reason why I'm so excited is not because I think having a boyfriend is embarrassing. I don't think that at all. In fact, I think in a world filled with hate, seeing love is actually refreshing and a beautiful thing every once in a while. But I think it's so exciting because women are finally waking up to the idea that having a boyfriend is basically the least interesting thing about you.
Why do y'all care so much about what the world thinks? The last thing I care about is what anybody else thinks. I'm so focused on doing me that I can give a fuck about what the pulse is. Like, to be honest with you, I 100% know that if I wasn't a content creator, if I didn't have a significant platform here on YouTube and whatever platform else you're looking at this as, I'm 100% sure that I wouldn't even be on social media at all. I have no interest on what everybody else is doing in their relationship as it relates to how I'm going to run mine. It doesn't make any difference.
Someone who is a great example of this statement is actually Aaliyah's face. That girl has a boyfriend and you will never know. In fact, sometimes I freaking forget because homegirl has so many things going on that her boyfriend is like the last important thing.
Or they just not sharing it to the world because they know that y'all some evil heifers.
The least important thing about her, the least interesting thing about her, she is going to Pilates, she's practicing her Spanish, she's running marathons, she's hanging out with her friends, she's taking solo days, she's traveling somewhere. That girl has so much going on that her boyfriend is not a pedestal, and therefore it's not embarrassing for her to have a boyfriend, if that makes sense. Having a boyfriend isn't embarrassing, it's boring, and it should be. It should be for each and every woman. Having a boyfriend should be the least interesting, most boring, most yawning thing about you. And if it is, you're in the right relationship. Where single women come into play when it comes to this article is that I hope that we are finally going to be looked at with eyes of excitement and not eyes of like pity and sadness when we say that we are single, because the reality is single women are interesting. We are so interesting. We're filled with happiness, with joy. We are filled with
Every single woman that I see out here on these apps outside of this article is begging for food stamps. 42 million people, the majority of which are women, are sitting here begging the federal government to continue to be their daddy.
hobbies and goals and everything in between. And I believe we can learn so much from single women or women decentering men in general. Where this article scares me is when I think of all the single women out there who have been single for years and have done all the solo dates and the traveling and everything, have hit all the goals and want love, because I'm one of those women. I've been single for over 2 years, and I'm not afraid to say my name is Celeste and I want someone to share my life with. But that's the thing, is that at my age, I don't want a boyfriend. I want a partner. And I don't think women should be.
They want partners, man. They don't want husbands. They don't want boyfriends. They don't want any of that. They don't want a leader. They want some. I think that they should just keep dating themselves. And when they go through a layoff, they should depend on themselves. They want everything except for the thing that's best for them. When they're ready, after they get done doing whatever it is that they're doing, a lot of them be slutting it out, then they want a partner.
Be shamed for wanting that, because it's a perfectly normal thing to want. It's perfectly okay to want to share a life with someone, a partner, a husband. A boyfriend to me at this age feels more temporary, so that's why I say like boyfriend or husband. But that also doesn't mean that that woman or me should be disregarded, because there's still plenty of other amazing things about women who are out here dating and want love. It's just the bonus. Love is just a bonus. A boyfriend, a partner, it's all just a bonus.
Then you shouldn't care whether you have one or not. Y'all let me know what y'all think inside of the comments. Make sure y'all tab into the Patreon. Link is in the description. Teach Henley 40% off your first order, 20% off for life. I love you. I appreciate you. I'm going to holler at you guys later. Peace.